Happy Friday and welcome to this edition of your Friday Drive-By where we answer your questions. I'm Chris Collins and this is Christian.
Hello, everyone.
The phone number, get a pen, piece of paper, pencil if you're old school,
Chisel,
and a rock, or just simply open up notes on your phone and write this down. 8333-ASK, A-S-K, SDR.
You don't have to spell out SDR.
It's like when I call places sometimes and I'm like, they go, can I ask who you're with? And I'm like, Chris Collins. And they go, and your name? And I'm like, Chris Collins. And they go, yeah, but who are you with? And I go, Chris Collins.
Oh, how long could that go on for?
Some people for a while. They're not that.
Speaking of stuff that.
But sir, could I ask what company you're with?
Chris Collins. Yeah. So about a year ago, I remember this happening to me. I hear this knock at the door. So I go and I answer the door, open it up. Nobody there. I look down and there's this disgusting snail just sitting there looking at me. So I pick up the snail and I throw it down the hallway. It's last year, right? So last night, sitting at home, watching television, and hear a knock at the door. Open it up. Snail says to me, "What was that all about?"
Right.
Thank you.
Snails are fast. That's the
Super fast.
Moral of that. Okay, we have a question. Let's hear the question today.
My specific question is about dealership culture. I have sales experience. I've owned my own sales business for a few years. I've been recruited into a service advisor role. I also have car experience from when I was a kid, although I've never worked in the automotive industry. I've rebuilt many engines and worked on lots of cars my whole life and motorcycles. So I know that part of it very well. Here's what I'm struggling with. It really seems like the dealership culture is very corporate, and I am looking at a luxury brand. I don't like the benefits. It's not like it would keep me from the job, but it seems that the way that they do this is very hustle culture, and they want people to be there 55, 60 hours a week, working 6 days a week, and they say that it's all for the pay. When you break that out versus what you're being paid against another role, an only commission job where you're working 60 hours a week, the pay isn't really that significant, and I think that most people think that it is because they're willing to give their lives up for it. I always had a pretty good example of my dad of not doing that, of a man who was with his family. And while he taught my brothers and I to all be hard workers, I'm curious if all dealership cultures are similar in that if I get into this industry, I'll only end up being a slave to my job for years. I would assume that that's probably part of the case and that people do it for the money.
Hey, Cody, thanks for the question. So I think if I'm sensing this right, you're kind of teetering, and I have learned that there's two things. One is the service advisor position is a service industry position, like working in restaurants. And so you're working longer hours in service of the customers that are coming in that we're taking care of. And so, I mean, it always blows me away when you talk to somebody who works in restaurants and they're working until 2 a.m.
And then coming around in the morning to work again, right?
Yeah, especially if you're like a sommelier or something, you're putting in your wine orders at 9 a.m, meeting with vendors, and you didn't get to bed until 4. And so, and it's day in and day out. You're not taking a day off. So it is, for the most part, as an industry, you are going to work longer hours. Most dealerships or service departments, you're not going to work 6 days a week. You might work 6 and then 5. But Saturdays usually are something that you're going to be rotated into, especially if you're new, because customers want to come in on Saturday, and it is a service industry. There are quite a few dealerships now that are open on Sunday also. And service departments, tire shops are open on Sunday because that's when customers are off and they have time. So you're going to put in the hours. The thing about the industry that I love and that I enjoyed, and you were kind of alluding to, there's a lot of loyalty to it, is that I was able to make an income that was above what other people were making in other jobs. Like, for example, I was making more than lawyers, like the average lawyer. I was making more than a lot of the average doctors out there writing service. And then, as I moved up, of course, as a general manager, I was making way more than those careers, and I didn't have the student debt. So, you're coming from a sales side of things. Sales is probably usually the best paying gig out there. Being a service advisor is more of a service industry job. It's not really a sales job, in the sense that there are people out there that say being a service advisor is a sales job, but it's really, in my opinion, and with my scope of experience, not, just in the sense that if somebody needs brakes and you're telling them they need brakes, you're not selling them something. They need it, and you're more like accommodating them, really. So it's a pretty easy sell. So, it's a personal thing. I will say, what I would like to do is we're going to send you a swag bag for being on. And also, I'll send you my book on being a service advisor. It's an easy read. We call it a 2 cup of coffee book, called The Millionaire Service Advisor. And it talks about growing your clientele and how to mentally approach being an advisor. And that might give you a little more insight into it also. But in any service-oriented industry, you got to be there when the customers need us. And so it requires a sacrifice of time.
Yeah, I think it's all about the customer at the end. And then if you've already chosen your place, then you kind of have to figure out if it's the right thing for you. But what I heard through that question, Cody, is that it's okay for you to kind of test the waters a little bit before you take a job. And Chris has said this on previous episodes, so I'm borrowing it from him. But if you're going and you're applying at a job, to be a service advisor, it doesn't hurt you to hang out in the waiting room and just kind of see what the environment is that you're getting into. So do your homework on your side too, and then just understand that I think that the future and the success you have is up to you to ride it. So I think that's by far my favorite thing about the car business, is that you're not limited, and just put yourself in situations you can win.
And then you had the question about culture, which I think we have a different idea of what culture is, but if corporate culture means that things are ran very similar, very uniform, with a lot of accountability and predictability built in, that is pretty much the majority of car dealerships now. With consolidation, most of them are run from a corporate mindset, and the smaller ones are trying to be that. So I would say, yeah, it's pretty corporate, and it's only going to get more corporate. So thanks for the question. Thanks for DMing me on Instagram, and hope that gives you a little food for thought. And we'll see you next time on your Friday Drive-By on Service Drive Revolution. Thanks for watching this week's Drive-By. I hope we gave you something to think about over the weekend. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.